India has edged out China as a preferred partner for key European nations, Japan and the United Arab Emirates for joint infrastructure projects and capacity building projects in Africa. The UAE, France, Germany, UK and Italy are in talks with India to launch joint projects in Africa, owing to India's goodwill created by funding demand-driven projects and providing concession loans for various sectors, according to people aware of the matter. On the other hand, they said the China's Belt and Road Initiative, or the BRI, is facing a pushback in Africa, with some countries cancelling or going slow on projects owing to huge debts. In Japan, during Prime Minister of India Mr. Narendra Modi's recent visit to Tokyo, announced a mega health project in Kenya that will be implemented jointly by India and Japan as part of the Third Country Initiative. A news report has learned that the UAE could partner India for projects in parts of Eastern Africa where the UAE has strong political connections. France, Germany, UK and Italy have expressed interest in partnering India in the Third Country projects in Africa. These countries are expected to outline specific projects where they are interested to partner with India, said one of the person who spoke on condition of anonymity. Besides Africa's second biggest economy and a big investor in Africa, Morocco has also expressed interest to partner with India for the joint projects in various African countries, with special focus on Western Africa. In contrast, Sierra Leone in West Africa recently scrapped plans to build a China-funded $380 million airport outside the capital, Freetown. A few other countries in Western and Southern Africa has also expressed concerns that China's funding burden could push them into debt trap. African countries jointly owe China about $130 billion, according to the China-Africa Research Initiative. This amount has funded transport, power and mining projects in the resource-rich continent. Countries around the world are now rethinking the readily available loans offered by China for infrastructure projects in their countries, after fearing they could fall prey to Beijing's debt trap diplomacy. China-funded projects are also required of hiring China-owned contractors rather than the local companies and workers. Chinese loans with interest rates of 2 to 3% are 1,100% more expensive than those from Japan at only 0.25 to 0.75%. A Daily Enquirer, a leading Philippine English newspaper, recently reported. Indian model is being and completely driven by demands and requirements of the line of credit or LOC recipient countries. India's LOC offered as a concessional rate currently amounts to $25 billion for 263 projects in 62 countries, including in Africa. This is besides the grants offered by India. Since 2014, the government has emphasized on timely completions of all LOC-funded projects by removing dubious companies who were earlier executing the projects, particularly in Africa. This has also ended pilferage of funds. An official familiar with the projects under the External Affairs Minister Development Partnership Administration told a news company. The top Indian corporate firms are now involved in execution of projects. The PM as well as the foreign ministers have been reviewing status of projects to ensure timely implementations. Also, he said after having expanded sections for which it offers LOC, India sought blueprints for specific projects in Africa from the partner countries in Europe. The new sector includes infrastructure projects such as the convention centers, which were once China's forte, renewable energy initiatives, and defense. India is on the course to implementing a $10 billion LOC announced by the Prime Minister at the Mega India-Africa Summit in 2015, the official site had said earlier, adding that the International Solar Alliance, or the ISA, has been another instrument to bring India-Africa closer to each other. France is partnering India in ISA. Besides, the telemedicine and teleeducation projects are being implemented on a pan-Africa basis. So what do you think of China might be in shock to see India and other European countries and the main biggest countries cooperating and jointly working to bring up African projects by rejecting China's debt trap? Thus, India needs to do this to escape from Indian politics. Do India needs to look into India to develop India first, then go around the world. India is seeking more oil, drones, and aircraft from the US to help narrow its $28 billion trade surplus aimed raising concerns of the possible collateral damage to its economy from the President Donald Trump of US in the trade spat between China. The Prime Minister of Singapore said that China and India are the new powers which are growing in strength and influence as the global strategic balance is shifting, which has thrown up new opportunities for the cooperation of ASEAN. On the other hand, Asia's third largest economy could bridge the surplus by up to $4 billion through oil imports alone, the government officials said, asking not to be identified as they may not authorize to speak to the media. Later on today, China told that the free trade agreement with India would facilitate more commerce between the two countries. The Chinese Consul General in Kolkata said that I hear that there are certain barriers to trade and invest in both the countries. A free trade agreement will help facilitate more commercial exchanges between the two countries, India and China. India is among the partner countries seeking to allay US trade deficit fears by raising the imports as the Trump administration redraws their bilateral trade plans and seeks to alter the world trade norms. Earlier this month, the US added India to the list of countries it's monitoring for possible currency manipulation aimed at boosting exports. India, which denied its central bank intervention help export, fits one of the main criteria for the countries making the list of a bilateral trade surplus of at least $20 billion. Along with South Korea, India was the only other country to cut its surplus, the merchandise and services with the US after the Trump took charge. The 19th Congress of Communist Party of China held in October 2017 promised more opening up Chinese economy to the outside world and also increase imports from other countries including India. We are keen to import more from India, mostly from the eastern Indian states, said the diplomat. He also said that the educational exchanges between the Indian and the Chinese university was another area for both the countries to work together. On the informal summit between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping, he said that the Indo-China relations would get boosted on the back of these meetings. India's merchandise trade surplus with the US in 2017 fell 6.1% to $22.9 billion, mostly helped by more than double imports of aircraft and parts from the US in the fiscal 2017 to $4.24 billion, a data from the India's Commerce Minister shows. The numbers may vary further this year after the US lifted its 4-decade-long curbs on crude oil exports. The official said, India, which received its first US oil shipment in August 2017, could import oil worth $4 billion, according to one of the officials. On April 19, Trump cleared the US policy on the export of unmanned area vehicles that could allow India to buy drones. India, which imports more than 80% of its crude requirements, sourced nearly 12 million barrels of crude oil from the US in the last 6 months. Its 37 billion cubic feet of natural gas purchases over the past couple of years for India will help correct the trade imbalance with India-US, said the US Energy Secretary Rick Perry said in New Delhi on April 17, 2018. On a counterproductive manner, India is importing more from the United States. If it is in its interest, it is a good thing, but Trump's approach to the trade has been fairly negative and counterproductive, said Joshua P. Meltzer, a Washington-based senior fellow at the Brookings Institutions. So what do you think of Trump's trade battle surprise India to import more oil and drones from the US? Will Trump be shocked or surprised to see India might be counterproductive to go with China rather than with US? Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.